During the fall, like many classes before them, the Woodward Oklahoma class of 1992 recently met for their 30th class reunion. And like most small-town reunions, there was a homecoming parade. Friends met for lunch and attended the local high school football game on Friday night. Old friends caught up and reminisced about stories from the past. The class of 92 also met at a local lodge to enjoy food and stories and one other item, a time capsule. A time capsule that everyone had forgotten about, really. It was a dusty Rubbermaid container that was supposed to be opened in 2012 during their 20th reunion, but it was apparently lost and recently found. And here it was. We expected the standard stuff, magazines, music, pictures, and other heirlooms from 92. It was all those items and more. The capsule also contained 3 videotapes. Tapes of what? Well, it seemed no one really knew or remembered what was on the tapes. We didn't have a VCR handy to view them because, well, we weren't expecting them. But I knew what was on the tapes because I'd shot much of the footage 31 years earlier. It was made during a high school event that we called Future Day, and it was actually recorded at the end of our junior year on May 16th, 1991. And what was the footage? Well, I remember it as driving around town showing what the town looked like that day. It was also on-the-spot interviews, asking students, what would they be doing in 20 years? Would they be married? Would they have kids? What kind of job would they have? So I headed home with the tapes after the reunion, and I was going to convert them to a digital format, and after I finished, I thought, I should do these interviews again. The same people 31 years later. Would they be willing to interview again? Did their predictions come true? What was it like living in a small town and being a kid in that video? Well, let's see if we can find out. Hey, Kiona, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Kenny.
We're here, and hey, we're going to have a good time. Looks like we have some old footage of you that we're going to look at real quick, and you made a few predictions. I think sometimes we said 20 years and 30, but I think on yours we actually said 30 years. So it's been
really?
30 years, yeah. So we'll go to the clip, and then we'll come back and see what you got right.
Stop. Hey, whoa, Miss Woodward. Okay. Hold on, it's not focused.
What are you going to be doing?
Hold on.
Oh, hurry up. Tell me when.
Can you take off your glasses, please?
Tell me when.
Okay.
What are you going to be doing in 30 years?
Well, have family, kids, be a doctor, I don't know.
You heard it first from us, from Miss Woodward.
Okay, well, let's listen to it there. So this was, let me kind of give everybody a place and time. This was right before senior year, at the end of a junior year. And I think you had, you were Miss Woodward at that time, right? Because you had it in your junior year, right?
Yep.
And then you became senior, right? Okay, that's right. So the first one is, it said, your first prediction was you'd have a family. So tell us, did that come true?
It did come true. I do have a family. Yeah, I have.
And kids?
I do. I have 2 kids.
Perfect. Okay, tell us a little bit about it.
So I married my high school sweetheart, and we were together for about 27 years, married about 17. We're divorced now. I have 2 kids. My daughter's 20. She's a junior in college this year, and my son is 13.
Wow. Okay. So you got that. You're pretty good now. If you hit the last one, you'll be 100%. If not, you're going to be like 66%. We'll see. The last one was a doctor. Was that a real thing, or is it something you just made up on the spot, or something you were wanting to do? Tell us a little about that. It was
interesting when I knew you were going to give us the videos. I was trying to think, what would I say? And I remember being really interested in medicine and specifically genetic research when I was that age, which is so weird. But it was because of my sister. She has Down syndrome. And so that's how I got interested in all that. But no, I did not become a doctor.
Okay. Well, it makes sense then. So all of it wasn't just making stuff up. It actually had a little bit behind it, right?
Yeah.
Or a little bit of thought behind what you were doing at least. So when we look at those clips, or that particular clip, and we think of that person in that time, tell me a little bit about the person in the hallway there. We stopped talk to you for a second, do you remember what it was like, or what your life was like at that time, or at that, in
I
that time and space?
Yeah, I was a little worried about seeing the video. I'm sure everybody has been like, oh God,
Yeah, everybody
how did I
cringes. Like everybody
act?
goes, I say, do you want to interview? And they say, well, let me see the clip first and how cringy it is, and then I
Right.
go from there. Yours wasn't bad at all, but go ahead.
But it just, I was just so shy and a little insecure, you can see it. And man, I just wish I could go back and be like, dude, relax, you know.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny. Most people, and I don't know if it's the effect of the camera, but I mean, even when it's not, it says like some people are way more reserved than what they thought they were at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, I think, being a little bit more, I was definitely reserved, but I don't know, I was proud of myself, I guess, for answering the questions. But, the way I kind of turned around and I was uncomfortable and awkward, and yeah, which I
I don't know
probably
why
still
Jack.
am, but
I don't know why Jack told you to take the glasses off, though. I guess he was worrying about glare or
oh, it's
something. I
probably
don't know
the
what.
glare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was like, "Get your glasses off." He's trying to,
Cinematographer. Yeah.
yeah, trying to make it all official or whatever. The and a few other things we've kind of talked about in that time. The is that, looking back and you look at yourself there, like what advice, if you had some advice to go give that person that they would listen to, let's just assume they're going to listen to it, what would you say to the person there? What would you say to Kiona at 18 or 17 or however old you were at that time?
Yeah. I mean, I've given this a little bit of thought, and I think I'd say that, I was pretty proud of her. I think, she was trying to get out of, she didn't want to really be in Woodward, and it wasn't necessarily Woodward, it was more like home life situation. So I was always super ambitious and, trying to do big things. And so I am proud of that. But I also think that, I wish that I would have paid more attention and spent more time developing, friendships during that time. Because even though it's neat to go back, because like for the reunion, because you do have connections with these people, even though you haven't seen them for 30 years, because so many of us went to elementary school together and, grew up together. But there was a disconnect for me, I think, probably around high school, when I got super serious about a boy versus, developing those friendships. And so I think I would tell her that to, don't be in such a hurry, and, take
Sure.
your time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had that, depending on where they were, how serious they were about something at that time, right? Especially if somebody was dating someone, they spent a lot more time, less or more.
Mhm.
Some people fell in those groups where they spent a lot of time with sports or band or just
Right.
friends or whatever. But you're right. Some people were just really like, that's all I did was football, or that's all I was concentrating on, or that's all I did was I had a
Mhm.
boyfriend, or all I did whatever. So a lot of people were very, very, focused in kind of one area to where they were. But it
Right.
is interesting to look back and like imagine yourself in that way and give yourself some advice in that. And now, when you said that you were there, was it just being in a small town and just you just felt like you were always going to go somewhere larger? Is that just kind of the feeling? I know I always felt like I didn't want to be in a small town, and I didn't want to kind of live in a small town. I just want to be somewhere bigger where there's more culture or something. I don't know what I felt or where that was, but was that kind of you say that feeling? Is that kind of feeling you had, or something
I think
else?
so. I had, I always felt really different than everybody else, which is probably what everybody else says. I had hippie parents, and my dad was an alcoholic. And so a lot of my childhood, like, I built up this protective little barrier. And so, I see that in that video,
Yeah, interesting. It's interesting kind of seeing yourself in even that particular time. It's
Mhm.
funny, on and off the record, talking to different people, they would say, "Oh, I look back on it right where I was. Like my parents were getting divorced, or I was having a real struggle, or that was just I was just
Right.
having a real. It was a real. I was really having a struggle right there. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of defining yourself in that space. But thanks for
Mhm.
sharing that and being honest with it.
Yeah, you bet.
But it's kind of cool. Now, there's a few other questions that I ask people usually is like, tell me what you're excited about the future.
Good. Thanks for the answer. So as we wrap up here and finish up, is there anything else you want to say? People have just made comments in general, or wanted to wrap up something, or talked about going to the reunion, or just life in
Yeah.
general. But anything you want to wrap up with, or anything you want to
Yeah,
say before we kind of get going here?
Forever Woodward was such a hard place for me to even visit, even though my parents still lived there. It was like I'd almost dread going, and wouldn't do it enough. And, and I went to I guess it was the 20-year reunion, and that was just a totally different time in my life. And so this time going, I didn't decide until last minute to go, but unattached, I didn't have to worry about anybody. And I'm like, I can go, and if I need to leave, I can leave. And, I was feeling pretty anxious just because of the death of my sister. I wasn't sure if people would like come up and talk to me or want to talk about it, or and so, but I only had a few people do it, and that was great. And I really enjoyed myself, and I'm glad I went. And it was really good to see faces. I kept calling ghosts. I've spent the last couple weeks, thinking about things that I hadn't thought of in 30, 40 years, so it's a special time. And Woodward, forever, it was like, oh God, Woodward. But now I have such a different appreciation for Woodward in that area of the state, and really how fortunate we were to live in Woodward, and the education that we got. And having Boiling Springs was, really awesome. So I went and visited Boiling Springs while I was there, and that was really cool. And so, not so many hard feelings towards Woodward itself anymore. So that was
Awesome.
Good. That was good.
Well, appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah,
We'll share it up. And thank you for taking the time and talking to us a little bit and giving us updated. You did pretty good, 66%, 66 and the 2/3% on the prediction. So you're doing pretty good. And who knows, you may be a doctor by the time I talk to you next time.
You never know.
Maybe we can make it 100.
You never know.
I appreciate it, Kiana.
Thank you for doing this, Kenny. This is really great.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
All right. I'll see you. Bye.
Hey, Katrina, thanks for joining us this evening. You doing all right?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. We have some old footage, some predictions, an interview from you from I don't know if we asked you 20, would you be doing 20 or 30 years, but it was a long time. But let's go ahead and watch the footage real quick, and then we will come back and see how well you did.
All right.
Here we go.
What will you be doing in 20 years?
I'll probably be dead for 20 years.
How many kids do you have?
Okay, a couple predictions there. The first one we want to know, are you dead?
No, I am fully alive.
Fully alive? What?
Yes. I don't know what I was thinking.
What? Okay, number one, did you remember any of the footage or being asked the question?
Absolutely no. Do not.
So nothing?
No.
Okay. So you had a really grim look at the future there, thinking you were going to die. I guess you're being silly, or I don't know, or it was really dark. It's the darkest of the predictions so far.
Yeah.
But now you have a popcorn machine in back. You live and you have a popcorn machine, which is even better. Perfect. And the other one was that you would have one kid, right?
Yep.
So,
right.
Any kids?
One kid.
One kid. Hey,
there we got
right,
one.
50%. Pretty good. 50%. You and Ryan Lyons are doing good percentage-wise. He was bald right, and you got the one kid right. Perfect. No. So looking back at that, I know you said you didn't remember the footage, and thinking back on that time, it's tell me a little bit about that person there. So they were just about the front of their senior year, and they were getting ready to finish up high school. What do you remember about that time and that person right then?
Well, I think part of it is like me saying that I'd be dead in 20 years. I always try to be the funny one. I felt like that would help me to fit in maybe. And I think I still probably do a lot of that. So not saying I was funny, but I tried to be the funny one. So.
Got you. So, so you try to throw a wisecrack in there.
Yes.
We got one funny and one serious out of you. Well, looking back at that footage and kind of seeing what it was at that time, tell us a little bit about also, your perception of high school at that time, and then kind of where you went from there. Can you just give us a little background on it?
I mean, I don't know. I wanted to go off to college, which I did. I wanted to live life, and I didn't want to live in Woodward, but I guess I moved a little ways. I'm in Mutual now, so not too far, but I did want to move off, but I'd never made it that far. So I just, I don't know. It was just, teenage years are hard years.
Now, having a teenager now, or having a child of yourself now, what advice did you give your teenager, or what advice would you have given that girl at that time? Is there anything that comes to mind? If you go back, stand there and go, listen, let me tell you something, girl, what would it be?
Live your life when you're young. Go do things. I mean, just because you're expected to do one thing doesn't mean you have to go down that path. Don't take the easy way. Just go live life and have fun.
Awesome. Well, anything else? You didn't give us much to work with. You were supposed to be dead and one kid, and you had the kid, so you didn't give us a whole lot to work with here. No, but the other things we kind of touched on were the reunion and coming back after all these years and seeing people after all these years. We really enjoyed seeing you and spending time with you. Does that tell us about your just experience of kind of meeting back together with people that you hadn't seen? I don't know how many had you seen? Are there some people at the 30th reunion that you hadn't seen in a long time, or had seen, or what was that experience like for you?
Yes, it was. I mean, I went to our 10-year reunion. I didn't make it to the 20-year. And at the 10-year, I was sort of just in a not great time in my life, so I really didn't enjoy it as much. But the 30-year, I know this sounds bad, but I sort of made myself go, because I'm one of those people that I'm all excited, and then I'm like, oh, no, maybe I don't want to go. I'm so glad I went. It was such a great time. It was great to see everybody. I see a few people since I still live around here occasionally, but not very often. And it was just, and then I missed a lot of people that weren't able to come. So I hope maybe at the 40th, everybody will be able to come.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? I think I had kind of the same experience. It was nice seeing people, and it's funny how kind of people. I don't think people have changed that much at a 10-year reunion, right? I mean, you're 18, you're 28. I don't even know if a lot of people have found their legs by then, right? Or some people say, I don't know how much you've changed some, but not a ton in 10 years. But I think the huge difference in 10 and 30, right?
Yeah. Yes.
How much people have matured in that. So it's kind of
or didn't mature. No.
Yeah, or didn't mature. That's right. They haven't seen all the videos, or maybe they have seen some of the videos. I don't know. But yeah, that's true. I really appreciate you taking the time and talking to me and getting caught up and being one of those people. And we'll just have to see how it is at 40 and do an interview then. But another question before we go, I like to ask this. What are you excited about for the future?
Okay.
Anyway, anything else before we wrap up here and head out, or anything else you wanted to say?
Not that I can think of. Just thank you for doing this. Everything I've seen so far has been great. So.
Well, we'll make you look good. I'll cut it up where you sound good, okay?
Good.
No. I appreciate it, Katrina.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
John Manso, how you doing? Awesome.
I'm great, but
Good to see you.
You too, bud.
We opened a time capsule, and it had pictures of people, and it had videos of people, and it had stuff that we filled out long ago. And I'm going to show a picture of you here real quick, okay?
Yeah, that's me. Look at that
there you
sexy
go.
bee.
Yeah, there you go. The so kind of interesting having a 30th reunion and going back and seeing everybody. The tell me a little bit about the guy in the picture, man. Like, what was he like back then? And going back and thinking about him now after all this time. Tell me about John in '92.
Now, that guy back there was the biggest chicken shit. You know?
Yeah.
He had no bravery in him. You know, his mind was thinking he's gonna be a famous basketball star, and that was where his life was. You know, kept to himself, little bitty nutshell. You know, that was life back then for me. So.
Got you. The a lot of people they're looking back at the perception of themselves. It definitely, after the years and growing a little bit and having kids and families and jobs and hard times, they really kind of look back at themselves at and some of the some of the things that they about their life and just the personalities that they didn't like, right? But we all had things we liked and we didn't like it. So he was kind of green. He was young. He was a little bit of a chicken or whatever. So when did John kind of hit his stride there? When did he kind of jump out of that phase? Do you remember that?
I'm not sure he ever did.
No, really?
I think he's still trying.
Still trying. I guess we all are, right?
I know.
Extent.
I know. We all get in these little routines, and it gets hard to break that routine nowadays. And it definitely took me to break that routine to make it back there for that reunion. Mm-hmm. I was on the fence. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm glad I did. I really am,
I think a lot of people got a lot from it, after 30 years going and seeing everybody, and they have certain perceptions of who they were 30 years ago, people they hadn't seen in 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, right? What was the biggest thing you learned from that reunion? Did you take anything from it, negative or positive, from going there and seeing people? What was your experience going back and seeing people after all this time?
People change, that's what I've learned in the past. Everybody grew up and matured. We weren't, giving each other hard times. We gave each other hard times, but it was all in fun this time,
Sure.
That's what it was all about. It's just go out and reintroduce yourself and have fun. And we had a lot of fun. So
sure, absolutely. I think the thing that I took from just meeting people is that everybody was just really cool. Everybody was really down to earth and really interacted with everybody well and wanted to know about their lives. So I really enjoyed talking to people and just catching up with them and seeing where they were in life. But I had a great time with it, and seeing everybody and seeing old pictures and footage and opening the vault. It was all pretty interesting stuff. But tell us a little bit about where you are now. You have family and where are you at and what are you doing? Just give us a little update.
Right now I'm over here in the great state of Utah. Look at them. Look at my view. You can't beat that every morning.
That's beautiful.
That's my home now, and this is where I hang out with the dogs. I go to work, come home. I, took on my own business about 26 years ago, strong home, steel buildings, and finally decided time to get out of your shell and do something for yourself. So I did that. Then shortly after that, I got sick with cancer. So it's been like an uphill battle ever since for the last 14, 15 years now. So, but I made it. I'm here. Got those 3 daughters of mine. They're my life, everything I had was to make sure they had what I didn't have when I was growing up. So, they went to national competition, marched in parades in New York. I flew those kids everywhere. So
awesome. I think that's a goal of a lot of parents, is just to make their kids have a better life than they had, have things that they didn't have, which is awesome. And cancer. So you 15 years you've been you've been a survivor, so that's awesome.
I'm surviving, for sure. They'll never say it's gone. Not with mine. It's just there's still some stuff in my chest, but every time I go in once a year, they check on me, do scans, and as long as there's no new growth, I'm good to go for one more year. So
wonderful, man. it, I think give yourself some credit starting a business and doing all that. It takes a lot, to persevere through that.
Yeah.
But it was good to see you and catch back up. And I'll get a couple other photos that I'll show before it's over. 2 or 3 years before that, you got better looking as it went back, right, into grade school. Everybody got better looking, right?
Dude, yeah. Yeah, sure. I'll take your word for it.
I think by some of the video, I said, "Man, I was a goofy looking cat, man."
Yes, indeed. I know.
My ears and my nose were a lot bigger proportional than I remember. And I was trying to adjust the video. I thought it was stretching my nose out or something. I don't know what's going on there. You kind of look weird. But
What
anyway.
happened? Yeah. I had the Lego hair thing going on, I had to swoop it just perfect. And yeah.
Awesome, man. Okay. Well, I appreciate you jumping in with us and talking, and we'll put some embarrassing pictures on. But
I got the headpiece still, bro.
Oh man, he's got the headband mullet. For those who don't know, he wore this in the parade because he didn't want to be hairless. Actually, I brought it for him.
My good buddy Kenny hooked me up, man. So, yeah. Okay. You take care, man. It was good to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks for jumping in.
Yeah, see ya.
Later.
In 20 years. 2020, I'll be on a ranch north of Woodward, chasing cows.
You're not gonna be teaching anymore?
No, sir. Be out there driving my tractor and chasing my cows.